The Shin Bet Security Service has released information on what it says was a foiled bomb plot involving an Israeli citizen who received training and orders from the Hamas terror group in the Gaza Strip. It says 30-year-old Mahmoud Makdad from the Bedouin town of Shakib al-Salam in the south of the country was arrested in August. 9 of his family members and acquaintances were also arrested, including his brother. Most of the suspects are residents of the same town and are suspected of either helping him plan the attack or allegedly knew about his plans and did not do anything to stop him. It's alleged he planned to bomb a bus stop at the Bilu Junction near the city of Rehovot. Well, for more insight on the story, we now bring in our defense correspondent, Daniel Tzemach, and he joins us from Baltimore in the United States. So, Daniel, it's not often we hear of an Israeli citizen being arrested in a case like this. Not to say it doesn't happen, but maybe it isn't always publicized. To start, what more can you tell us about this actual plot? What was Mahmoud Makdad and his fellow relatives and acquaintances, what were they planning?
Yeah, so we're talking about a few different issues that were of interest to the Shin Bet Internal Security Agency and actions that he was trying to carry out or successfully carried out for the Hamas organization in the Gaza Strip. Now, one thing we do know that he was assigned to do was to gather intelligence. This is oftentimes the case when Hamas finds an individual who has access to Israeli territory. And one of the most important issues, especially when we're talking about that Negev southern part of the country, is, of course, the Iron Dome missile defense system. Hamas used Makdad to actually identify different he was meant to document those locations. And from what we understand, his brother apparently also aided him in this particular assignment or mission, which might actually affect his sort of the punitive measures taken against his brother as well, of course, could be more serious. That's just maybe one of the more lower order issues, but definitely of extreme importance for Hamas to identify where batteries are indeed located so that they can adjust rockets, for example, to not be in the range of some of those batteries. Aside from that, Benita, we also understand that he underwent training inside the Gaza Strip as he was able to go in and out of Israel and Gaza, given his citizenship in Israel, the fact that he has a relative who is Israeli, a parent who is Israeli, and one who lives in the Palestinian enclave. So Israel does allow visits through the Erez pedestrian crossing, and it seems as though he exploited that, or Hamas did, for their own gain.
So what does this breakthrough actually mean, Daniel, in terms of the fight against Hamas, and specifically what is known about the kind of terror infrastructure that it's been setting up and who exactly is involved?
Yeah, the more frightening element here, Benita, is this is just one example. Obviously, the Israeli defense establishment is working literally around the clock, identifying certain figures that might be suspicious or of interest and that may indeed be exploiting their standing in order to help the terror organization, not only in the Negev desert where Makdad's indeed from, but also when we talk about the West Bank. Hamas has considerable influence in the West Bank in cities like example. And given recent developments, you might even be seeing more attention being paid to Hamas's efforts, seeing as they're getting a little bit closer to the Palestinian Authority and Fatah in the West Bank. So there, they've already been able to wield considerable power and actually garner public support from some of the residents of those areas. But of course, also in southern Israel, the fact that Hamas is enclosed in this area, that it doesn't have access, to those naval sort of passageways, it doesn't mean that it hasn't found other means in order to conduct terror activity, to gain intelligence on the Israeli military and on its positions, not only in southern Israel, but throughout the entire country. This is really just one of the many different examples of Hamas's efforts to try and level the playing field against Israel, obviously a far more powerful military entity, but doesn't mean that Hamas isn't going to use any tools at its disposal in order to try and gain some sort of advantage. And even just one individual who might have access to Israeli territory could be of utmost importance to the Hamas organization, and definitely trying to take advantage of people that might be less suspicious or unassuming as far as the Israeli Internal Security Agency, the Shin Bet, is concerned. But again, as you mentioned in the beginning, Benita, this doesn't happen often, but we have seen Hamas trying to exploit these sort of individuals because they're of serious value to the Hamas organization.
Defense correspondent Daniel Tzemach, appreciate your insight as always, speaking to us from Baltimore in the United States.